Welcome to episode number 95 of Breaking Business Barriers. JT, we got a cool guest on. She knows everything about marketing, digital marketing. But before we even get there, let's thank our sponsor, our sponsors, Expanse Financial Group, along with American Option Insurance. Good peeps over there. If you need some insurance, you call Brandon Strazo over at American Option Insurance. We've got a really cool guest. I mean, in today's world, digital marketing is it. I mean, if you're in business, whether it's yourself, small business, big business, doesn't matter. Somehow, some way, you have to have a digital presence out there. And Crystal's going to share that with us. But let me make an intro. Bringing Crystal in is a privilege. Like most things that both JT and I do in our businesses, it's highly dependent upon relationship. So I met Crystal through a cousin of mine who's a very sweet and dear cousin of mine, and from all the way up in Minnesota. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. But let me tell you a little bit about Crystal Kilichowski. I'm not kidding. That pronunciation of that last name is correct. I had to do like 5 takes on it just to make sure I had it. But Crystal's been in design and marketing for over 20 years. She's not a rookie to this. Her career began with a passion for design and led her to her graphic design degree first. And I'm going to let her take away from here because it's a really cool story. And here at Breaking Business Barriers, we have listeners of people that all the way from high school, a lot of college, or people that are looking to graduate and what are they going to do with their lives as maybe potential entrepreneur, all the way to someone maybe making that shift middle of the road, maybe in their 30s and 40s, maybe 50s and beyond, making that shift. But Crystal, JT, and I are anxious to hear your story. Why don't you let everyone know first and foremost where they can find you, and you're everywhere on social media, but maybe the 2 or 3 best spots.
Um, well, thank you for having me today. It's definitely an honor to have the opportunity to speak with you and your audience. A couple places that you can find me is on Facebook and LinkedIn, but I do have 2 websites that you can actually get more information about my product and my company, and that is mydigital.com, and the other one is innovativemediacreative.com. So those are the places that you can get in contact with me. But like you had said, I have been in marketing for quite some time, and it has definitely been a journey of learning. As technology grows, we have to grow with technology, and we need to be there, and we need to educate ourselves. So I did start off about 20 some years ago with a graphic design degree. I did go and explore that and enjoyed that, but realized that I wanted to continue my education. And once I got going with my education, I really enjoyed the learning aspect. So I got into the world of marketing, got a marketing degree, and then a couple business degrees to sidekick those other degrees, in hopes that I could grow my own business eventually and have enough experience and education to do that. Um, and After acquiring these degrees, I had the opportunity to work in an advertising agency. I had the opportunity to teach graphic design and marketing, which was a whole nother perspective. And later on, I had the opportunity to really succeed in financial marketing as well. And so that's kind of where my career has taken me and has led me to today in innovative media creative and the digital dots, which is a product that I developed and am growing at this time.
Boy, that's a mouthful. From you must have started in business somewhere around the age of 9 or 10. Is that about right?
Well, I wouldn't say 9 or 10, but thank you for that compliment.
Well, that's cool. I know certainly JT, Jared, this is near and dear to his heart. Just so you know, Jared is in real estate. He had a cool career. his path and where he has. He's been on the finance side. Now he's actually on the other side of the equation in primarily residential real estate. But JT, you may have a plethora of questions. Why don't you fire away, my friend?
Yeah, no, I'm just interested in hearing more about the digital dot and everything. And yes, marketing's near and dear to me. I studied marketing, and I see people. I tell people all the time that there are so many great professionals and great companies that don't have good marketing. And marketing in many cases is that difference between someone who's good at what they do and is super successful, and someone else who's good at what they do and doesn't have any business. So I'm just fascinated with marketing.
So, Crystal, you mentioned, where throughout your career, and then all of a sudden you find yourself teaching marketing or channels in that. Do you find yourself, you're in business for yourself, and obviously you're out doing client acquisition. Do you find yourself almost going back or leaning back onto those days when you were teaching?
Yes, absolutely, because those days give you the opportunity and the time to explore new technology, new ways, consumer habits. Sometimes in life, you're moving so fast that you don't have the time to educate yourself. So when you have to teach these components, you need to step back and you really need to grab that information and study that information, and then forward that information onto your students. So definitely it provided me with more time to really dig deep into some of the marketing strategies and the ways.
What do you tell a business owner, president, CEO, or maybe just an individual? Let's just use real estate because that's been in my wheelhouse for almost 30 years now. And they're looking to expand, but maybe they're giving you, ooh, wait, what I'm doing is working. Why should I leverage your services, Crystal?
That's a kind of a question that comes up with many different clients. And my saying to them is, let's be different. Let's stand out and let's get noticed. Why do you want to do what the company next to you is doing? Why do you want to follow their ways instead of stepping outside those boundaries and doing something different? And maybe you're going to get noticed a little bit more because you're doing something that not everybody is doing. And I think that leads back to good marketing. If you follow what everybody is doing, then you're going to just be a follower. If you lead in a different way, people are going to see you in a different way. That's marketing, because you want to be seen, you want to be noticed. So let's do something different to make you stand out and have people talk about you and your company in a positive way. So I really focus on encouraging my clients to be different. It's okay to be different. And what can we do that's different? And let's be the leader.
JT?
No, I think that's awesome. Crystal, can you tell me more about the kinds of companies that you've helped with marketing?
Yes, one of the companies that I've done a lot of marketing for is a financial institution. And there's a lot of compliance parameters with a financial institution and what you can and cannot advertise. I've been doing work with them for 7 years and have developed all of their marketing. And we took that different approach. And it was definitely hard to get that different approach past compliance. But once we got that different approach past compliance and started producing the advertisements in a different way, we were very, very successful.
Boy, that's a tall order there, to take something as unsexy as compliance and finances and try and turn that into something catchy that
Right.
rings a bell for people. So
how do you make finance fun?
That's a great question.
And you can achieve that.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so you've done digital, you've done mass media, right? You're familiar with all those things, but you continue to challenge yourself, your business, to the what's next. And you really caught my attention with the what's next. Let's talk about, and this, we're going to have to really probably slow down the rowboat here a little bit to be able to understand this. You did a great job when you and I first visited to explain the digital dot. Why don't you've been working on this. This has been a project through the pandemic, right? Thanks to pandemic, you dialed in and forming yourself another path, but still maintaining your channel of your traditional business of marketing. Talk about the digital dot.
So this did acquire during the pandemic because my thought process was, what are we going to do for advertising and marketing moving forward with all the stuff that is going on in the world, and nobody wanting to be in the same room with each other, the events that are being canceled. What is going to be the new form of handshake, the 2021 handshake? How are we going to get our information to our potential clients and customers and the information that we want them to have? That was the big question. And at that time, nobody knew what was going to happen week to week, day to day. So my thought process began with that issue. How can we solve this in the world of marketing and advertising? And that's kind of what led me to the digital dot. Time to think about an issue that was coming forward. And what the digital dot is, it's a form of communication that is contact lists. And so they are actual 1-inch by 1-inch dots that can be placed on different surfaces, and they can be programmed with different information. And when you bump or tap your smartphone onto one of these dots, that information will be served and fed onto your smartphone. And then that person can browse or save that information on their smartphones. There's many different uses for this. A couple examples would be if you are walking into a large building facility and you have to go someplace within that building and you don't know how to navigate to that location. Sometimes they have people there to guide you, but not always, and especially after 2020, there's less of those people available. So if you walk in and these digital dots are on plaques, as you are walking through the facility, you can bump them and you can get directions and an interactive map to get from point A to point B. So a good place would be hospitals or clinics or any large facility that would guide you. These maps would guide you through your whole process of getting from point A to point B. That's one use. This is also very popular for real estate agents and insurance agents because they are sales people and they market themselves under one umbrella, under a company. So we can actually program a digital ID to the digital dot. The digital dot would be placed on the back of a cell phone, and you could bump another person's cell phone and that digital ID would populate on their cell phone or their smartphone. What's really cool about the digital ID part is you can program many different quick links and buttons that allow for them to call you, text you, schedule an appointment, file a claim, check out your websites, check out your social media, have a video about you, pictures, have for real estate agents, have the MLS listings. And then there's one really awesome button on there that says add me to contact list. When you click on that, it will actually add that digital ID to that person's address book in their smartphone. So when they open up their address book and they want to get in contact with you again in the future, your digital ID is added to that contact book. And they have not only your phone number and your email address, they have your digital ID and everything that you want them to know about you, and every link possible under one umbrella, one location. So that's really cool with the digital IDs. But what's even more exciting is all of these digital dots can be updated remotely. And we can do the updates and the programs here remotely. And once we publish them, all of the dots will be updated. So your information is always up to date. So that's kind of the digital dots in a nutshell.
So that's awesome. What a super cool idea. My wife and I have an Airbnb, and I'm thinking of how we could have like our welcome packet be digitally transferred to someone's phone. And then I'm thinking of, menus for restaurants, things like that, which raises a question. I'm thinking of QR codes, but QR codes have to have, you have to have Wi-Fi, or you have to have a cell connection. With a digital dot, would that data just be transferred directly to the phone, or would it require phone service or Wi-Fi?
You would need for phone service.
Okay.
For it to be transferred to the phone. The dot does not, but you would need your cell phone to have service.
Got it. So, but there are advantages obviously of this over, say, QR codes.
Yes, they're more customizable. And we can do a lot more programming and remote updating.
That's really neat. Wow.
And to go back to your Airbnb, my husband and I actually have several properties in Florida that are rental properties for short-term rental, VRBO type stuff. And we actually have the digital dots in one of the homes. What we did was create videos, and we put the dots on different components in the house, like the pool heater and the temperature gauge, and even the espresso machine. And so when guests walk in and they have a question in regards to how do I use a pool heater, they tap their phone and they get instructions that way.
Well, that's genius. Love it. Are you going to be on Shark Tank or anything?
Well, we'll see where things go.
Super cool.
Crystal, you mentioned that you have a patent pending on that, correct, here in the United States?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a brilliant idea. And as you've taken, this is an inspiration. Not only are you an entrepreneur, but you're past the entrepreneur and training. You're well on your way of doing some really, really cool things. I can see, and again, my mind went wild after you and I first visited about, all right, how many ways and how many businesses could we use this? And I don't know that there are really any limitations. I didn't think about, how's the pool heater work and all those little things when someone's coming into a new property, like let's just talk about a VRBO or whatever the case might be, but that's genius. It's awesome.
Yes. And you know what, the possibilities really are endless, because it's all in the development and the programming. And so what we can do on the computer to program it to the digital dot really is endless. There's so many different industries that we have different campaigns already developed for real estate agents, for insurance agents, for rental properties and hotels, industrial products, commercial construction. It's really endless, and it's all about the programming.
So now really the challenge is, all right, you got this big net, but really where do you want to funnel that down to have your greatest success, right? Which is a challenge in itself, because as an entrepreneur, we want it all, right? We somehow want it all, but then we just have to find that plan. All right, how do we streamline this and maximize our opportunity, proof of concept, and all those things? Well, that's very cool. JT, do you have another question?
No, I'm inspired myself too. What a fascinating idea. And like you said, the possibilities for that are endless.
Yeah, it's super cool. Well, let's shift gears here a little. Let's shift gears a little bit, Crystal. One of the things. First of all, why don't you give us something that would crack us all up, Jared, myself, and our listeners.
Oh, well, I had to think a little bit about this one, but I think I'm going to introduce the story of a comment that my son had made actually this year. So I have two boys and a husband, and one of my sons actually helps me with marketing and developing some stuff and some video, and he does an awesome job, and the pandemic has actually allowed for him to really learn and allowed for me to teach him some stuff too within business and marketing. But he goes on a lot of video shoots with me, and I overheard him talking to one of his buddies one day, and I had to chuckle because he told his buddy that, yeah, my mom is the boss in many, many ways. I have to live with her and I have to work with her, so I have to agree with her.
Smart child.
That is right. Yes. So I guess he knows how to make good comments to his friends and hopefully make good choices. But it's definitely an honor to be able to bring my son into the business as well.
That's inspiring. It's nothing. I mean, working with family successfully is there's a lot of, that's very gratifying. I made a comment to you when I was looking at some of the videos that you sent to me. I'm like, who did your video? Those are phenomenal. And you told me that same story, and that was really cool for him to be able to do that and work with his boss.
Yes, yes, exactly. Well, I guess he knows where he stands.
Let's talk about a recent fork in the road that comes to mind. And how'd you get there? How'd you make that decision once you hit that fork in the road? Were you leading with your head or your heart?
So I really think that the digital dot is my fork in the road, just because it's something very different, very unique, and very creative. When coming up with this concept, there's a lot of thought process. Of course, I led with my head, just knowing that something like this is needed moving forward with all of the contactless communication. But my heart was also in it as well, because there's so many questions. Where can we go with this? What kind of changes do we need to make? How do we develop this? What type of legal paperwork do we need to take care of? But I really think this is the fork in the road, because I think it can change the way that we communicate with people and become a method that is known by many, and just a common daily task of getting information. Right now, people are like, what is this? I don't really understand it. How can you make me understand it? But hopefully here in the future, people just talk about the digital dot in their common lives.
Very cool. JT?
No, I think that's awesome. Crystal, are you seeing, with the last year, are you seeing changes in the way marketing is done due to the pandemic?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Everything is really going digital. Everybody wants digital. There's more people working from home. Everybody's conducting meetings over Zoom. Everything is digital. So, and people are not feeling comfortable always being in meetings or with other people at this point. So marketing is definitely going in a new direction with digital, whether it be setting up geofences to target individuals and serve them digital ads, to everything being on the web and Zoom meetings.
Got
Very
it.
interesting.
As we wrap things up here, this is kind of the lightning round, Crystal. So, so often entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs don't make that leap, either because they've got that nice salary and they're afraid, or maybe their friends and family Don't, you know, why are you doing that? You've got a nice job. Did you worry about when you went out on your own, were you worried about what other people said?
You know what? I was not, because I really believed in my product, and I also believe in my skills and really see this as a marketable product that could be successful. But I think another part of being different is not worrying what other people think about you. Um, and you know, the best form of advertising is talking about it to people, talking about you to people, and telling a friend, and having a friend tell another friend. That's really the best way to market and advertise. And I did not think about that. I did not think about what people would think, because I like to be different. And that's how you stand out.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we've heard Jared and I have heard answers all around the globe, you know, on this one from people, you know, calling you crazy, going nuts. What, you know, why would you do such a thing? And people, you know, in business for themselves, and they try something new and maybe fall down and scrape their knees a little bit. You know, they give you all the negative stuff. There will be that certain handful that will that are maybe not even close to you, that will plug in a little energy for you and give you some you know, aspirations to keep on chugging. Is there a book? Is there a certain book that you've recently read or that you would recommend to our listeners?
Yes, actually, a girlfriend just suggested this book. It's called Hook Point by Brendan Kane. And it talks about how to stand out in the 3-second world.
Hmm.
And it really talks about digital marketing. You know, some of the information that is given out in this book is different stats, digital stats. You know, one of the stats is in this book is that we actually scroll through about 300 feet of content a day. You know, that's probably going to give us arthritis in our thumbs in several years. And then it also talks about standing out and the amount of time that you have to stand out and make a difference, or somebody to realize that you're there. So it's been an inspirational book, and I'm really glad that a friend reached out and told me to read it, because it's been inspiring.
I'll also remind everyone again, if they're looking for their pen, or, you know, what's the title of the book?
Hook Point by Brendan Kane.
There we go. Last question that I have, and maybe JT will have something before we just wrap up here in a couple of minutes. Is there a particular a learning site or something that's kind of your go-to right now, where you go and learn, whether it's online or anything?
Yes, Clubhouse is where I go. It's kind of a new social media platform. And I find it amazing because I don't have to read. It is all conversation, kind of like we're having here, and learning from each other. And there's different points of interest, from business to investing to marketing. And so actually every day I try and I really try and listen to something off of Clubhouse.
Go ahead, JT.
You know, Chris, I love what you said about standing out. You know, it's natural inclination for humans for people to want to be the same and to not stand out. But when you start talking about marketing and you start talking about people scrolling through their feeds all day, it's the stuff that stands out that makes people stop. And even, you know, going into the, you know, talking about changes due to the pandemic, everyone's thinking, okay, what do I do to be safe? What do I do to be safe? What do I do to be safe? But in reality, if you look for opportunity, if you look for, hey, how do I pivot to where I can actually thrive in a new environment? That's by standing out. That's by taking some risks and by doing things that not everyone else is doing. And, you know, just really ties into what you said about marketing. You know, you want to be different, you want to be unique. And I think a big part of that is just not worrying about what others think. Because if we're worried, you know, we just want to stay under the radar. And if we, you know, take some of those risks, then, you know, that's where the rewards are.
And
I totally agree with everything you just said.
yeah, well said. And if you, well, as you get to know Jared, Crystal, he often plays live music, and he's usually one of the singers. He has a house full of them, starting with his bride and his boys that are in his. You never know what they're playing, so a lot of times it's guitar and what have you, but it's always pretty cool. And you know, I'll be springing through or thumbing through something, and if I see JT sing, I got to stop and listen. So
I'll have to check that out.
yeah, he's good. All right, as we get ready to sign off, Crystal, let's remind everyone again where they can find you on social media and beyond.
The best place to find out more about the Digital Dot is mydigitaldot.com. Another URL that you could look into is innovativemediacreative.com, and you can find me on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Very good. And for those of you, don't freak out. I'll make sure on the write-up through YouTube and our regular other social media write-ups. I'll make sure all that's in there so these folks can find you.
Wonderful. And thank you so very much for having me today.
Crystal, a pleasure. Let's sign off on behalf of Jared and myself. It's been nothing but really, really cool to have your conversation and your conversation included as being an entrepreneur. So we'll sign off. This is episode number 95 of Breaking Business Barriers. Take care, everyone. Peace and out.